What's up, guys? So yes, the title reads 651. Now, I've explained to you guys that I've fallen behind in Naruto because of schoolwork and so forth. However, I'm really doing this video for those of you out there who just enjoy my personality so much and enjoy just reliving chapters you've already may have read, and that's why I'm going to do this. Another person could just as easily just read all the chapters they missed and then do a whole summarizing video. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do chapter by chapter because of the couple people who like to watch my videos. Now, if this video gets 0 views, I might change my mind later on. But without further ado, a few months late, chapter 651. So I've been behind on Naruto for a little bit of time, and this chapter was very simple. Essentially, what happened was Naruto's Kyuubi form, which I don't know how he has full chakra of that form because half of it's still in his dad. So I'm assuming his dad is somehow. I don't even think he could relinquish it all, but I'm guessing he somehow lent it all to Naruto to use. So Naruto's Kyuubi sort of form, or aura you could say, is now encompassed in Sasuke's sort of, I wouldn't say sort of, it is Sasuke's Susanoo, which was infused with the curse seal from Jugo. I think his name's Jugo. And now it's pretty much like a full-blown armored Kyuubi, and it's pretty much the best of both worlds because you have the two major factions and the two great powers of each. You have now one of the brightest of the entire Uchiha clan, and they're using one of the strongest techniques that Uchiha have ever used, probably next to Sasuke. I believe like only a couple of Uchiha have ever achieved that amount of power, Madara being one of them. I mean, Susanoo is only bestowed on those who have achieved Manchu Sharingan, and that is a level not everyone even gets to. And so Naruto, obviously, his clan, whatever his clan is, they have distinct individualistic powers. And so right now he really is sort of surfing off the Kyuubi as a Jinchuriki. And everyone's saying that Naruto has far surpassed Sasuke. I disagree completely. I think it's the exact opposite. Like it or not, Naruto is surfing off a lot on the Kyuubi, and let's say the Kyuubi gets ripped out, what I would say Naruto would have downgraded his power level tremendously. Sasuke, on the other hand, has never had to depend on another Biju or another tailed beast for his power. And it was later remarked by Orochimaru that Sasuke has yet to hit his peak yet. And so I really do think that maybe I'm hoping for some sort of showdown, or maybe I'm hoping, though I doubt it based on what's happened so far. I've explained in my previous videos how I really think this is going to be the end, because you can't really get bigger than this. But I'm hoping that after this there's going to be maybe just one last saga or series, probably not, but maybe one last showdown with Sasuke having finally surpassed Madara like Orochimaru predicted. And I'm very confused why Madara hasn't really noticed Sasuke. Maybe he has. We do know that what's his name, Obito, has noticed Sasuke, which is why he planted those clones in Sasuke. But why hasn't Madara? Because Sasuke is on a level close to what Madara is, and I feel like he's achieved that at a younger age than Madara. He's achieved eternal Manchu at the youngest age in history, and Madara, he got that like later on, I feel like. And on top of that, we don't know what's going to happen. We do know that it was a good like 50 years, maybe even 100 years, wherein Madara literally had to sort of sustain his health through like the use of the Biju, and he was like 150 years old, and that's my estimate. Obviously, we don't know his age. Before his Eternal Mangekyou released the second form and got and he developed new abilities, which was very close to his death. So will Sasuke develop those soon? Who knows? Maybe not. And so now Obito has his weapon, which it's claimed to be like the primary weapon, or the primary staff used by the actual Sage of the Sixth Path, which has apparently just been developed. Maybe he just achieved a form where he could develop it. And it's very clear that this staff, from the perspective of a biology major, this staff is designed to look like the DNA helix, and that's just the standard structure of DNA, which is what codes everything. It codes everything about us, from where our eyebrows are to where our hair is, to how tall we are, and so forth. And I guess this is just a little sort of fun little snippet. I quite enjoyed it, but it doesn't really go beyond that. And so they're pretty much going at each other, and now with this armored form of the QB, 9 of Naruto's friends latch onto each of his tails. Naruto infuses his chakra into them, so now they have the cloak, and then he sort of just lets them all have a Rasengan to use to attack, and they're all holding on to the tails of the 9-tailed QB, and they're attacking. And I was a little confused about this, because it was literally just like a panel where he pretty much says, "Here you go," and then like they're like looking at themselves, and they're like, "Wow," and they have a huge Rasengan in their hands. And this was kind of cheesy and a little bit too much. You can tell the author's like just going all out now, and some of this stuff doesn't even make sense, because like, how did you just snap your fingers and let them have all this? The Rasengan's really the thing I'm really concerned about. How did he just lend out 9 Rasengans to his 9 friends immediately? I guess he's gone to a state where he can just go like this and then spin out a Rasengan very quickly and just throw it at his friends, and it really doesn't make sense, because even if you threw it at your friends, how would they catch it without dying? On the other hand, based on the single panel where we see this, it seems to have both the chakra cloak and the Rasengan seem to have simply appeared on their friends. Ten and Rock Lee, they pretty much had faces of surprise, and they're holding out like one hand, and there's like a huge ass Rasengan in the hand, bigger than their whole body, and then they have like the standard Naruto chakra cloak. Didn't really make sense, but there we go. And then Obito has a lot of flashbacks. Well, not really flashbacks, more like projections of, well, some of them were flashbacks, but others were projections. He saw his face on the wall of Hokage's. By the way, guarantee you that wall of Hokage's on the mountain, those faces, those heads, must have been inspired by Mount Rushmore. Anyhow, what happened from there was he projected himself in the Hokage outfit, and he's like, what's going on? Why is this sort of happening now? Which I can relate to. Sometimes in certain moments of desperation or loneliness or so forth, you sort of just randomly get very subconscious projections based on your life experiences. And so he's having these while going all out, throwing his spear out, and he's, he's proclaimed that this is the spear of the original Sage of Six Paths, and so it is inevitable at this point. So they're going at it, and the QB is armored with Susanoo, and he's sticking out the Susanoo spear now, and they go at it, and Obito's spear crumbles. And this is essential because now it shows that, okay, Obito and the Sage of Six Paths are not perfect, immortal, all-powerful beings. They have a power cap. They have a power limit, which is very, very good, because now there's a fighting chance. And we've seen this quite a few times before, but this is a big one because his spear cracked, and it's just more and more obvious that they could possibly lose this to Naruto and the gang. And it's very clear because it makes more and more sense with more history being revealed, because it's very clear that the Sage of Six Paths isn't some all-powerful being. He was actually just a guy who sort of inherited his powers from his mother, who stole them from the Biju to begin with, inadvertently. His mother didn't intentionally do it, or maybe she did. And so that's all I have to say about this video. You guys know I usually do 30-minute videos, but at this rate, with 5 views per video, I can't put in that energy if no one's going to watch them. And if I do a 30-minute video for every chapter I've missed, that's going to be like 10 hours worth of recording and 10 or 5 hours worth of prep time, so I can organize my thoughts beforehand. So let me know what you guys think, and depending on the success of these videos, I'll sort of re-gauge how to go from there. And I just want to follow up with some final points. The whole theme about this chapter was it was all around Obito and how he sort of still feels a void in himself, and it's pretty much caused by it was pretty much caused by a few simple things. He was pretty much fine and dandy before Rin died. Sure, he was very stingy and competitive and angsty, but he didn't have this void until Rin died. And it's very it's clear to me that the difference between him and Naruto, despite the fact that everyone's saying, oh, they're exactly the same, is he didn't go through as much traumatic events as Naruto. Other than Rin dying and his final fight, which almost killed him, there wasn't that much. Sure, he didn't have parents himself, but it wasn't really visualized, correct me if I'm wrong, that Obito was ignored or shunned by the village he lived in, or he didn't have friends or anything like that. So I really would say that Naruto had a lot worse time in a lot of ways. And so again, it's kind of weird how Obito's turned out the way he is, because all Naruto fans stop saying that they're exactly the same, because Naruto had it a lot worse. They're not the same. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Obito did have just as bad as time, but from my perspective, he was never the Jinchuriki, so he was never shunned like Naruto was. And more so, it would just confuse me why the village would be shunning Naruto, knowing that he's still himself an actual human being, and knowing that he is the son of the Hokage, the past Hokage, and just because he has a Jinchuriki inside of him. Again, I'm really just nitpicking at small plot holes, but there you have it. And I guess you could reason that it does make sense. I mean, look at the real world. There is a lot of unlogical racism and other sort of prejudice. even in today's society. Um, and yeah, that's one of the common things with something like Naruto, which I very much respect. There is just certain things where I really would like it more so if they kept it more realistic. Which brings me back to Obito and his whole story, which I don't think is really realistic. I mean, this guy, he was hung up on this girl, and quite frankly, I don't even think he didn't have a void in himself or an unhappiness before Rin died. Sure, he was really angsty and sort of bitter about everything and simply only cared about beating Kakashi all the time and proving himself to Rin. And quite frankly, it appeared that he didn't really care about friends or any of that. He was simply consumed about Rin, and that was it. And he was sort of like a bitter, angsty guy, which Naruto was not. And if you disagree, you look back on the flashbacks when he was a little kid. All he pretty much cared about was beating Kakashi at everything to sort of prove himself indirectly to Rin. And he was sort of like an angsty, competitive guy who was sort of selfish in his ways. He did everything sort of selfishly until his very final sacrifice to Kakashi. And the whole theme behind how he's sort of become corrupt, and you could say corrupt because I'm saying it in quotes, corrupt, because at the same time I can relate to him a lot and I can see where he's coming from. And there are a lot of naive mindsets which in certain ways I do sort of understand and relate to. But quite frankly, what it is he was sort of hung up on Rin, put her on a pedestal, and did so much that he sacrificed himself completely and gave himself to Kakashi to protect Rin. And then he survived, surprisingly. And obviously there's some sort of sketchy business concerning Rin. People are suspecting that Rin was just, quite frankly, a spy, or maybe not what she seemed to be, or maybe placed in a situation where she would have died anyways. Or maybe there's some foul play by Madara himself that set up how Obito had become. Maybe Madara caused the death of Rin on purpose, or set some sort of genjutsu to create this situation and sort of push Obito to help Madara. The point is, it was a very naive sort of thing that I find somewhat unrealistic. He was so hung up on Rin, and now what's happened is that Rin has freaking like died, and he has this whole void in himself, and now he's super bitter and angry that Kakashi has failed in his duty to protect Rin, and now his whole sort of plan is to use this genjutsu so everyone lives happily and he can live in his illusion of the dream world. Which leads to a couple other points. Madara himself, Madara technically died, and he pretty much said, revive me in a certain amount of years or so forth, and so we can continue our plan. What happened during that time when he was in the afterlife? Did he not sort of realize things? It's really frank how, like, the other people who had come back from the afterlife with the Edo Tensei, they did say that it was a different place, and it seemed to be that a lot of them had sort of changed after being in this afterlife, but Madara really hasn't. So it's very interesting about that. And then finally, I think the biggest thing about it is that there's other fish in the sea, guys. I know it's tough, I know I've been there myself, but don't get hung up on one girl like Obito has. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Rin wasn't even that special. I mean, obviously Obito's going to disagree, but honestly, you can recreate these things with other girls. And if you do get hung up on this, you will be so consumed and you'll turn into some crazy guy who's hell-bent on destroying the world like Obito. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Peace.